Yesterday, yesterday we've understood about what is fraud risk management strategy, um, then fraud prevention, detection, response. Um, See, as something inappropriate um, is going on, or before it happens, I think there are measures that are taken to prevent them. Then, as it happens, so it could be detected. After it is detected, after it is identified, what would be the response, fraud response? So deterrence is the important thing, that it is to ensure that it would not repeat again in the future. Then about audit and compliance, we have studied extensively in detail about the audit and compliance. So there is an audit committee which is appointed to look into the audit work that is carried on. So then we studied about internal audit. What is the role of internal audit department? What is that they look into? They look into the um, effectiveness of the internal control system, assisting with the identification of significant risks. So then the value for money, because this is not a mandatory activity or a committee which has to be appointed, but it is for the benefit of the organization, that it would be helpful in the audit work. There is an audit committee or internal audit function is taken up in the organization. So also to ensure that there is value derived from this particular function, internal audit function, value for money in terms of the three E's. It would be looking into that. Then examining the financial and operational information, any kind of a special investigation if it is needed, that is taken up. Then reviewing that the organization complies with all the rules and regulations. Okay, what are the factors affecting internal audit? Then we have understood about the auditor's independence. Only when the auditor has that independence, he would be able to take a decision which is unbiased. Otherwise, that can have certain risks or problems. So the potential risk areas, if auditors are not independent, definitely they would not be, they would not report any kind of a breach happening, or they would be silent in matters where there are certain discrepancies, there are issues which arise and then which have to be brought to the notice of the strategic management. They would not be doing so. Okay, then just like that, they may be giving positive feedback. Then what are the threats to independence is, maybe they uh, they are benefited from the organization in some other capacity, therefore they do not want to forego that, therefore they would be silent, self-interest, or they may recommend a client's position, in promote the client's position. They may feel that they are intimidated, that could be another reason. They may be too familiar with the client, therefore um, they do not highlight anything which is inappropriate. Or self review, if by reviewing the work, if in any capacity, if they are also going to be brought into light, they may be silent on those areas. Then we understood about the audit committee. It's simple. The main function of audit committee is to ensure that the audit work is carried on smoothly in the organization. That is all about audit committee. What are the different roles that it plays? The audit is always connected to internal control, therefore to review the internal control system, monitor integrity of financial statements, review work of external auditor, oversee work of internal auditor. So it's all about looking into the audit work, that audit work is carried on effectively in the organization. Okay. Then we've started with what is the concept of risk management, the definition, the risk management strategy, the process, etc. Why incur risk? Then okay. Then we've learned about a concept called as ERM, enterprise risk management, which is um, given by COSO. There is a the concept of it is given by COSO. So there is a definition about ERM which says that it is a process wherein the members of the organization, starting from the board of directors and members at the other levels of management, are also involved. So they are involved in designing the strategy and also how things are implemented at in the organization. Okay. There, the process also looks into how the risks are managed within its risk appetite, okay, ultimately to ensure that the organizational objectives are achieved. So the framework, what we've learned about internal control, it's the same framework but with a little more elaborated explanation or areas included into. So in ERM, the strategic part of it is also included. Then the objective setting is one component here. Identifying the events. The risk assessment is all only what is given in internal control framework, but here it says that identifying the events and what would be the response after knowing what is the amount of risk. The risk response part of it, we've learned it in the form of a framework, a TARA framework, wherein risk could be transferred, accepted, reduced, or avoided. Okay, then the control activities, information communication. All information related to risk management has to be gathered and communicated to the people in the organization. That is information and communication. And finally, as things are implemented, how they are monitored. So that's the framework of ERM. After that, different types of risk classification we've looked into. The strategic risk, operating risk. The risk that the strategy would fail is strategic risk. The risk which exists in day-to-day activities is operational risk. Then we have also understood about the different types of risk. All of them we've looked into. How to what are the risks that are present in general or specific. Then how to calculate the risk. The TARA framework about transfer, accept, reduce, or avoid. Then risk map talks about it's a visual presentation about um, how the different types of risk can be presented here on this dashboard, and then it can be understood about how to prioritize the risk and then cater to the risks that are present. Fine. We've learned about 16th chapter, all 16, 17 also we've finished. 16th chapter says that how to control the risk. Controlling the risk is a business strategy, which wherein business strategy looks into the appetite. The risk appetite is based on two factors, that is what is their overall attitude, do they want to accept risk or they want to avoid. That is one important aspect. The second, another important aspect here is about the capacity. If they are hit by a negative impact, can they still survive, and then would they still be able to continue with their activities. It defines about what is the risk capacity. Okay, risk strategy, how risk will be managed, and then ultimately to ensure that the business strategy or the strategy of the organization in terms of achieving the objectives could be achieved or not. We've understood about what is the risk committee. Risk committee, like audit committee looks into the audit function, risk committee looks into the management of risk. So update company risk profile and appetite. What is communicate that to the people in the organization, bring about some awareness about risk, implement the plans. As they implement the plans, establish policies for risk management. Role of risk manager is basically overall, the summary of it is how he manages the risk that is present in the organization. Awareness, all the because there are three different levels of management involved in different types of planning. So any kind of an information that is required at each level of management has to be captured and informed. The strategic level would be looking at the risk that is present at an organizational level, tactical at the departmental level, operational day to day. Okay, so all that all the types of risks that are present have to be, information about that has to be gathered and communicated. Risk has to be embedded into the system. That's very important. It should not be looked at as a separate system. So it has to be embedded into the system as well as into the culture. So some kind of an awareness has to be brought about in terms of what are the policies and procedures, so that they understand this is what is acceptable, and anything else will not be acceptable. So it has to be embedded into the system, into the activities. So it should become a day-to-day activity as well as embedded into the culture, so that they understand what is the norm, what is acceptable in an organization. Okay. The other risk management strategies are low as reasonably practicable, is LR. Um, the LR talks about when risk management strategy is taken up, it also might have come to that saturation point wherein additional benefit out of the risk management cost that is incurred may not be possible. So, understand about what is the appropriate amount of cost that has to be incurred in order to get the benefits of risk management. Then, diversifying or spreading the risk, that is investing into multiple activities and projects, so that the risk that is present in one business or one product can be offset against the profits that are received from another business or other products. Diversification. Then, monitoring has to happen by way of risk auditing. We see the steps in risk monitoring process. What is risk assurance? Assurance, in terms of an assurance map is also given. An assurance map talks about the across the different functions of the business. See what is the assurance that is required. So we see that high assurance is required in certain areas. So the areas are categorized into line one, first line, second line, and fourth line. So some of the activities are categorized under each of them, and then across the functions of the business, um, in what areas is an assurance required, or what kind of an assurance is provided. High assurance, medium assurance, low assurance, no assurance required, and not applicable to that particular situation. So this again is a visual presentation about assurance mapping. An assurance map shows key elements over which assurance is required. There are 4 lines of defense. Identify any gaps where no assurance limited or not provided at all. See, if the risks are managed appropriately, then in that case, the confidence among the stakeholders will increase, the investors will increase, and then better business can be taken up in future. So that's kind of an assurance given. We've learned about professionalism also. What is the meaning of professionalism? Ethical codes and the public interest. So understood the difference between professional professionalism. In the public interest, things have to be taken up. The person should be responsible leader. Then what are the corporate codes of ethics? So corporate codes of ethics also we've discussed. The business ethics also, the integrity, objectivity, professional competence, confidentiality, professional behavior. If at all, if there is a conflict of interest, the conflict of interest arises because of self-interest, self-review, advocacy, familiarity, intimidation. In case of conflict, the way to resolve the conflict is to escalate it to the superiors, but not to share it with others. And if it doesn't get resolved within the organization, then only they are allowed to approach the tribunals or the court of law. Then corruption and bribery are prohibited. It should not be offered to anyone so that they can get some undue advantage out of that payment. Okay. Um, why is corruption wrong? Why is corruption wrong? Also, we've understood it is a misuse of power and position and has a disproportionate impact on the poor and the disadvantaged. So, therefore, it should not be taken up. The business argument is because of certain reasons that they are involved in corruption, but that is not acceptable. So, if at all, if in the case study, if it is given, so you have to persuade them to follow what is appropriate. So that persuasion skill is what you have to exhibit there, able to make the people in the organization understand the strategic level or other levels of management, able to make them understand, convince them, persuade them to follow what is appropriate. Okay. Ethical behavior. See, all this would be about um, the business ethics. What kind of a behavior would they have to? Should they have? Should they follow? Um, that was about ethical behavior. We started with organizing for success, but we did not finish the organization structure. We just have finished it till business process and have to continue with that. The organizational structure is dependent on the size. If the size is small, it's called as entrepreneurial structure. If the size is little bigger, it is the activities of similar nature are grouped together and we call them as a functional structure. Then divisional structure, where the size increases further and they are divided into departments and divisions. If it is even bigger than that and the presence is there across multiple geographical locations and also into producing multiple products, then it is a complex structure which is difficult to manage. Therefore, it would be called as a complex matrix. Then Mintzberg's model about the organization structure, he talks about 6 building blocks. At the top, we have it, the ideology. Then we have the strategic apex. At the middle, with the middle line supported by the support staff and the techno structure. And at the bottom, the base, we have the operating core. And then we've learned about the different types of multinational and global structures. See, there are 4 different categories of that, depending on local independence and responsiveness is low or high, and then global coordination if it is required or not. So we see them as international divisions, global subsidiaries, global product companies, or multinational companies. The explanation given in the text study text, if you go through that, I think that should be sufficient. What are vertical boundaries and what are horizontal boundaries and external boundaries? Um, the hollow structure, modular structure, and virtual structure where there are no boundaries at all. Okay. Then strategic choices that are available for boundaryless organization is they can outsource their activity to, with an external supplier, or internally also can be outsourced in the shared service center. Then we see they can join as partners with others to carry on with the activities. I did explain to you about what is business process. We have understood about strategic business processes such as new product design or high sensitivity customer care is provided to the customer. So what is the process that is taken up? Sometimes when it is required to take up dynamic decisions or to bring about radical change also would be looked into. Of course, we will be looking into that little in detail in a short while. That is what we've learned yesterday. A lot of time went into that to quickly revise what we've learned that. Okay, then now we will proceed further with the new topics, the topics that were not covered. We will cover them now. Let's see how much we will be able to finish it in today's class. I do not know whether we will be able to finish it or not, depending on that. Then tomorrow we have a class, isn't it? Somebody please respond. Do we have a class tomorrow? Am I audible? Okay, then I am not audible, so I don't have to teach, I guess. On the context that I am not audible, I don't have to. Okay. Um, I am also not sure, but this week we missed one class on Tuesday. Uh, so I was told that it would be, I think Tuesday, someday we didn't have a class. Was it on Tuesday? I think Tuesday, because there was a clash in my timetable, so we didn't have have the class on that day. So I was told that it will be scheduled for Sunday. I have not received any information after that. Therefore, I am asking you if you have any information. Let's see. Um, if it is not done tomorrow, we will do it in the next week, sometime after the festival. So anyway, two classes are scheduled after festival. So we can fit in one more class because three classes would be pending after today's class. My sincere suggestion is that please don't miss those classes. Very important. Until now, even if you have missed the explanation part, is also it's perfectly fine because we will be doing case study. Whatever topic we are touching on that, some amount of explanation at least will be repeated there. You can pick it up from there and then understand how to answer case study questions in SBL. I don't want any one of you to miss physically, mentally, be present there. So present is not attendance wise. Yesterday I didn't close the Zoom account till 12:05. Around 60 students didn't even realize that the class ended. So it's only for the sake of attendance that you are there in the class. I told you at 12 o'clock, before 12, 2 minutes before 12 only, you may leave the class. Around 60 of them didn't leave till 12:05, which means that they do not even know what is going on in the class. Great. Okay. Organizing processes. There's a model given by Hartmut. He talks about two different variables. One variable is the strategic importance, which is low or high, and that's on the horizontal axis. Then we see on the vertical axis complexity, which is low and high. The importance of that particular activity, if it has low strategic importance, and the nature of work is also not very complex, low complexity is there, need not be worried because the very fact that the strategic importance is low, they need not be worried so much about it. Along with that, the nature of activity, the complexity is also on the lower side, so minimum efforts if they put in, that would be sufficient. But if the strategic importance is low, but if it is very complex, it's always better to outsource them. 1 second. See, the complexity is high, or and the strategic importance is low. In that case, it has to be outsourced. The reason is, see, if a complex activity has to be taken up, and if they do not have the resources or equipment or the infrastructure, the facilities to carry on with that activity, then in that case it will require a lot of their efforts. Suppose there is a product that is produced. A basic example, let's take, for example, there is a watch company. They are into manufacturing wristwatches, maybe a leather strap wristwatch. What's their core competency, or their the core or component of it is the watch machine. So they are known for providing good quality watches which run properly. That is what is looked into. Now they may not have the expertise in making the leather straps. So leather technology is something different, wherein they have to cut the leather piece into the appropriate shape, size, etc. So their expertise is in making the watches, not in making the leather products. Somebody who's dealing with the leather products will have the equipment, will have the expertise, will have the resources, and they can do it much effectively because they are dealing with leather products. But a watch manufacturer have to have a leather equipment installed in the organization, appoint someone to take care of the manufacturing or making of those leather stuffs, etc. So that is the complexity is at a different level, but the importance wise it has low importance, because the core component there for them is the watch motor or what machine or whatever is that thing. That is their that is the importance. The strategic importance lies with that particular component, not with the strap. See, people do not buy the watches because of the strap. They buy it because of the main watch body. Okay, for that reason they buy. So the strategic importance is low, but it has the complexity is on the higher side. Why invest into the leather manufacturing things, the infrastructure, appoint people, etc. This is a basic example which I have quoted. So likewise we can think about many situations where taking up that work involves complexity. Therefore, why take it up and then outsource it to others? When they outsource it to others, in that case, they will have their resources available, which can be utilized for better purposes. So they just acquire it from the outside supplier at a price, and do not have to invest huge funds into the into that facility or that equipment, other things. Okay, outsource it. If the strategic importance is high, okay, strategic importance is high and complexity is low. Complexity is low, it should be considered for automation. See, automation is a scenario where when can automation be considered? When the nature of work is repetitive. Okay, the work is carried on in the same manner again and again, repetitive in nature. Such kind of work is um, taken up by or assigned to machines, automation. Okay, the reason is, see, there is no specific decision required every time the work is taken up. It is regular in nature, mundane, repetitive nature work. Okay, such work can be assigned to machines. Automation can be thought about. See, the strategic importance is high, but the complexity is less. The reason why automation should be considered, the machines, see, on a comparative note, when we look into that, human beings have certain limitations in while working. Um, See, they can work only for a specific period of time, specific number of hours in a day. They cannot continue for longer hours. They feel tired. Boredom is there. Um, so for that reason, these things would be considered as limitations of human beings. Whereas if machines are put to work, see, once the set of instructions are assigned to the machines, they are inputted into the machine. Machines will continue to run in the same manner, okay, for long hours, very long hours. Sometimes even 24/7 also they can be put to use. The speed with, see, there is no concept of boredom with machines. They don't feel tired. Okay. Um, so on that note, what we can see is the machines can be put to use for long hours, so the output also produced also will definitely be more during a day. But if human beings were to be employed to do that work, the output produced is would be limited to the number of hours which they are working. Machines work for long hours, therefore they produce more number of units. That's one aspect. Second aspect is human beings have a limitation in terms of the speed at which they can work. See, speed is low, but machines have very high speed. With very high speed, the output can be produced. Here, there is nothing to think about it. See, the same thing, the same set of instructions would be followed, and the output would be produced continuously and with great speed. The machines work. Therefore, overall output that is produced is much higher than the output that is produced by employing human beings. Okay, so if that is the case, automation is better. Complexity is not there. Regular, simple, repetitive work can be assigned, but that's very important for them. The strategic importance is on the higher side. So assign it to machines or automate that particular activity. By automating that, they can get cost advantages, so they can get the cost benefit out of that, because when output increases, as the scale of operation increases, output increases, it becomes cost effective, so cost benefits can be realized. Okay. um, and they can cater to that high strategic importance by automation. If the strategic importance is on the higher side, the complexity is on the higher side, they have to be on continuous improvement, continuously look into that and then improve their activity. So that is a model given by Harman in terms of organizing processes. See, Harman's process strategy matrix. According to Harman, BPR should be focused on those activities which are of high strategic importance, likely to be complex and dynamic. See, what is BPR? Business Process Reengineering. Yesterday also, I did mention to you about business process reengineering. Business processes are the activities that are taken up to carry on with the activities. But sometimes the way they carry on with the activities, the product production, the designing, everything has to be redesigned because of many changes that are happening. See, doing the business in the conventional manner may no longer be sufficient. Therefore, there would be a need for them to think about the whole activity in a different aspect. Okay, so right from scratch, everything has to be redesigned and the work has to be taken up. So that concept is called as BPR, Business Process Reengineering. BPR should be focused on those activities which are of high importance. So importance is high. So even if they make small improvements, sometimes it is not sufficient. In that case, what is required is to think about it in a different manner and redesign the whole process. A redesign methodology, business process redesign takes a clean sheet approach and typically has 5 stages. Create a project plan, analyze the existing process for problems, design solutions for these problems, develop resources to provide these solutions, implement and test the new process. The business process um, has, I mean, the concept of it is redesigning the entire process right from scratch. So there is a lot of investment which goes into that. See, there is so much of disturbance in the organization. Things have to be taken up in a new manner. It is not about, the concept is not about bringing about small and incremental changes, but redoing everything. See, main reason would be about automation. So the reason, um, see, when there is a need for them to adopt automation, so it is about moving from the conventional traditional manual methods to the automated methods. So at that time it would be about redesigning. It is, see, it is not as simple as just replacing men with machine, but the whole concept, the whole design, everything has to be redesigned so that it can fit into the business activities. So first, to create a plan. It is just not simply replacing human beings with machines. It is about how the work can be carried out. It is not about completely replacing all the human beings and then placing machines. See, men and machine will work after automation takes place, because the decisions are still taken by the human beings. The set of instructions are to be loaded into the system by the human beings. So it is about a new environment where men and machines have to work together. So now when redesigning has to happen, business process redesigning, re-engineering has to happen, a project plan has to be first prepared. Analyze what is the problem with the existing system. So existing system may not be able to cater to certain areas. So identify those problems that are present in the with the existing system. Design solutions for those problems. Develop resources to provide these solutions. So when redesigning happens, generally also when designing happens, they do not straight away design the whole concept and introduce, but rather they first design the concept. Once it receives the approval, the concept is approved, then the actual system would be designed and it would be introduced. Of course, there would be a pilot run, then there would be reviews, etc. Finally it will be implement and test the new process. So that is about the stages of BPR, 5 stages in the business process reengineering. Okay, the typical process problems that are to be taken up, what can be identified, avoided. See, there are certain activities that are unnecessary, like example given is credit checks on cash sales. Activities are in the wrong order, delivering before payment. Example, activities are in the wrong swim lane. Finance function testing quality, wrong swim lane. Okay, then activities are missing, no quality checks are taking place. Activities take too long, too many staff involved in and or too many changeovers are there. So activities take too long time to complete. So then if there are problems, identify them and then check on the problems, find solutions for that. Remove if there is any activity which is unnecessary, non-value added activity, remove that non-value added activity. Remove the swim lanes. Okay, so do not very specifically define what is the course of action. See each one looking into the same set of activities. Remove the swim lanes, combining activities, combining job roles. Think about automation when the work is not effectively carried on by the human. Outsource a part of the work. changing the order of activities and reducing handovers. Too many changes in the work time, so then there would be a problem with the handovers. Um, there's frequent changes in the employment also. That is, the turnover is very high. Ensure that the turnover is within the admissible level. Changing the orders of activities, reducing handovers. The next topic we now have is e-business. How business is done on the electronic platform, e-business. Okay. What's the strategic context of e-business? What are the methods of delivery, the risks that are present in e-business, and what control measures can be taken up? So, the strategic context of e-business. See, IT can form an important part of the entire strategic planning process. So, what is IT? Information technology. Don't give me that answer. But what is information technology? What is information system? You did learn. You learned this concept of ITIS in PM, performance management paper. Any one of you to give an answer about what's IT? Something. At least one student. Google search it and tell me what is IT. Any one of you? No one has an answer. So no matter what I do, I cannot get an answer from you. Okay, good, very good. Um, See, the concept of I mean, this chapter, the chapter here is e-business. In For the business to be carried on the electronic platform, we need to first understand the strategic context. The strategic context about taking up the activities on the electronic platform. On the electronic platform, what is the need there? Okay. first we have to have an understanding about what is the concept of information technology. In simple terms, we can put that as the hardware of the systems is called as IT in simple terms. See, because of the technological changes, see the hardware that is available or the systems that are available, which can simplify the work by use of these uh, IT or the devices or the tools of the IT, things can be implemented in a better manner, work can be taken up in a better manner. So IT can form an important part in the entire strategic planning process. How? It can help provide new technological developments which open up new growth opportunities. By adopting technology, see the components of the technology or the advances or advanced form of technology when it is adopted. Better way to do the business. Growth opportunities can be found. It can help a business cope with its competitive environment because in the external environment, because others also have already adopted them to be on par with them or to compete with them on par equally, then it becomes important that they um, adopt IT or the technology. So it can help a business cope with its competitive environment and market position. Then strategic choice can be made easier through the use of IT. So better decisions can be taken up, better implementation is possible, and better way to review the performance if IT is adopted. That's the strategic context. Then, what are the stages of e-business? The business could be present on the web. Okay, so on the internet, their presence is there. That is one aspect. Trading on the web, trading on the electronic platform is e-commerce. Integrated e-commerce, then have the business carried on the electronic platform, e-business. See, better reach would be there if they are present on the electronic platform. That anyway we can, I mean, we understand that and we can talk about that. By being present on the electronic platform, be present on the internet, on the web pages, um, the advantages that can be derived are they would be able to reach out to many customers. So many customers, they can reach out to them and increase their customer base. So that's one advantage of that if they are present on that. See, all of us, see, at least the younger generation do understand the concept of being present on the web and what advantages can be derived. You people would be able to better talk about this than my generation people. So there are e-commerce platforms which are now able to connect the customers and the suppliers. Um, Amazon talks about that. See, it has become one dukan, apni dukan, wherein uh, things which were not thought about earlier about acquiring certain things are also now. It is very easy and possible. See, if we all have survived through the lockdown periods, it was because there were many businesses trading on the web, and then the commerce, the trade has happened on the electronic platform. So we were able to manage through the web presence of many businesses, and then um, but provided with many things. So the stages of e-business, first they are present on the web. Okay, web presence, so people would get people would get awareness about the business. Okay, then trade also happens on the electronic platform. Then many other things are integrated into the trade. Okay, e-banking, e-facility, payment facility, all those things also are integrated, and then carrying on the business. In general sense, generic sense, we understand IT has its own set of risks that are present. What are the IT risks? The data can be contaminated. Data can be contaminated because maybe see, the IT itself is not properly designed. Therefore, every possibility that there could be a crash, the system could crash, and then the data gets spoiled, or because there is some hacking by an external intruder trying to enter into the system to steal the data for his own personal benefit. So that is hacking. Viruses introducing or injecting into the system some virus which can contaminate the data or damage, destroy the data. That is viruses. Sometimes in the if the help of the IT is used, or the systems are used to carry on with the activities, there could be accidental entries or errors into the system that can cause some problem. Security is another aspect of it. See, if there is no restriction as to who would be accessing that, then that can raise issues about security, that um, any user, unintended user, can enter into the system to cause some problem in terms of deleting, modifying data, and then that, see, that the lack of security can damage the data, damage the systems. Inadequate security can cause some problems to the systems, and then the hardware fails. The hardware doesn't work, therefore it fails. We see that sometimes the um, it has to be replaced. The components of the hardware can have to be replaced. So from time to time, that also has to be taken up to replace the components because they do not work effectively. These are the risks that are present with IT, information technology. What kind of controls can be put in to ensure that IT works properly? Controls are general controls. We have application controls, we have software or network controls, and the network controls. See, general controls are restricting people from using the IT, the devices, the systems. How can they be controlled? See, only those users who are the intended users, who require these systems to carry on with the work, only they should be provided with the system. So somebody who has no knowledge about it, who's not the right user to use them, if access is given to them because of their ignorance or lack of information or how to use that, if they, because they do not have proper knowledge, there is a possibility that they can cause some damage to the system. So personnel are restricted about who should be allowed to be present in the place where the systems are placed. So personnel are restricted. Then logical access. Logical access is about only on providing the valid proof in terms of their ID proof. It could be a card that is swiped against the machine, or the biometrics, the face recognition, the iris. These are the things that are used to provide an access to the people who want to be present in the place where the systems are placed. After that, to log into the system, there are ID proofs that are available. So only when they provide the ID and the password, they can have an access to log into the system. Okay. There are some physical controls also, like um, see the environment which is maintained in the place where IT um, devices are all placed. See, like a cooling system should be there. There should be an air conditioned system. Fire extinguishers should be there, so that any accident happens also, it can be properly protected. So physical controls, then hardware should be I mean hardware security has to be there from reliable suppliers. It has to be purchased, etc. In case if there is any kind of an accident happening, how would they recover the data? So for that reason, of course, off late we do not see so much about the recovery plan. For some reason, I will let you know. The data has to taken as a backup. Generally, as part of recovery plans, whatever is the data, that data is um, taken as a backup and stored in a remote location far away from the location itself should be remote or far away from the physical location of the office where the IT is placed. The reason was, if at all, if there is any issue because of which they cannot have an access to the physical location or the systems that are placed in the location, if there is a data backup and then that is stored in a remote location, so whatever happened in this location would not affect the location where there is recovery or there is backup taken up. So they still will be able to survive with their work and then carry on with the activities if there is a recovery plan or backups taken and stored in a remote location. I will, after some time I'll tell you why is that it is not so much taken up off late in these present times. Why is that there are no recovery plans or backups? The application controls are so as part of control activities of internal control system also. I did explain to you about a concept called as pre-number. So all the forms are pre-numbered. So in future, any kind of a verification has to happen. It can be verified based on the numbers. See, application controls, they should also be pre-numbered. The form should be pre-numbered. So in future, if there is anything which has to be verified, it can be easily verified. Next one is document authorization. What is document authorization is those that require these documents to carry on with their work should be provided an access to the documents. From others, these documents they should not be shared. It should be maintained as a secret. So document authorization is another important thing. With whom would they be sharing their output? Those details is about document authorization. When the data is being inputted into the system, after a set of entries, a batch of entries, then it would be verified as to whether the input entry was appropriate or not. That is control totals. See, let's say a batch of 100 entries. So at the end of 100 entries, it would be checked about whether it was properly entered or not. Control totals. Then we see that checking of output. So the as the and the output is generated, that would be checking of output. These are all application controls. Pre-number, all the forms will have a pre-number. It becomes easy to identify the transaction in future. Sorry about it. Cursor is not moving. Next one is software and network controls. Use only reputable dealers. Buy the components of the IT from them. Use reputable dealers, retaining the original disk. Even if they have loaded everything into the system, also retain the original disk. Check the licenses from time to time. The software, see, IT is only the hardware, but IS is a combination of hardware and software. So when there is a combination of hardware and software, um, any software which has to be renewed for its license or anything, check that and then replace that IT. Checking licenses. The next one is network controls. So network controls. Um, See, the threat with ITIS is that, see, intruders, external parties can enter into the system. Okay, consciously they enter into the system to cause some damage. Damage like they can steal the data, corrupt the data, damage, destroy, delete the data. So that is intentionally causing harm to the organization. So if that happens, so the investment made into ITIS, all that would become a waste. Um, Sorry about that disturbance. What are network controls? Network controls would be, see, when there are intruders trying to enter into the system to cause some damage, like deleting the data, destroying the data, modifying, stealing the data. So some harm that is caused to the systems because of intruders, external entities who have no no say in the organizational activities. So in that case, there could be firewalls built into the system. It could be a part of the hardware built into the hardware firewalls, or um, as a software, it can be installed into the system so that no intruder can enter into the system. So it acts as a wall so that they cannot enter into the system. That is about firewalls. Then the sequential flow of the work when it is presented in the flow charting, we'll talk about what should be the next course of action. The uh, the the sequence of activities are presented in a flow diagram or flow charting, so that way they understand logically what would be the next step that has to be taken up. data and encryption talks about who should have an access to the output that is generated. See, if there is an output which is generated, who should have an access? Not everybody can be given an access to that. So encryption talks about only on providing the security key, the user will be able to have an access to the output. Otherwise, he cannot have an access to the output. So that is the concept of encryption. See, because of the privacy issues, see, there is possibility that the data can be shared with others, or others can people who do not belong to the organization can have an access to the data. Then it becomes a problem. So privacy issues arise, the confidentiality part of it is at risk, etc. So encryption says that only when somebody provides with the security key, then only they can have an access to the output. See, we have WhatsApp also, which says that it is end-to-end user encrypted. So what does it mean? The encryption is there, the message will be delivered to the right user only. No one else will be able to have an access to the messages that are shared on WhatsApp. So um, who can have an access to that? The one who provides the security key, uh, only he will be able to have an access to the um, output that is generated. Virus protection: if there is any virus that is injected into the system, that will contaminate the data and then cause some trouble. So to protect that, they can have antivirus softwares installed into the into the systems. So then the virus the attack from the virus can be protected because of antivirus softwares that are. So these are about the network controls. Chapter number 20 says using IT successfully. So using IT successfully, we will be learning about different elements of technology digitalization, how IT is used in supply chain management. We will be learning about that. What's the concept of big data? There are many elements of digitalization which are causing disruption. So disruptive technology. What is the disruption all about? Is what we will be looking into. We will learn about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics, ethics of technology usage, and then we also have cloud technology. Completely technology. Um, See, I think the younger generation are much aware of how things are happening. See, you want to learn something about these things, there are so many free courses that are available on the internet. You should be able to take it up, one or two courses, so that you can have better knowledge about that. See, reputed organizations, institutions also are providing free courses. At least that certificate will be added to your resume. On that note, if you take up any course, then that should be very helpful to you in terms of understanding this. And very great, very important thing about that is, see, the organizations are adopting technology at a faster pace. So the person, the strategic leader, also has to have a thorough knowledge about what are the technological changes, and then how the organizations can be benefited out of that. So you are that person, you are that SBL, now you are that leader. Therefore, you have to have a thorough knowledge about technology. Now, how this technology is helpful to the organizations in the businesses is what you have to talk about in the answer. The case studies that are given will have, definitely the question paper will have some aspect of technology tested in the examination. You cannot skip this, you cannot miss that. And for that matter, nothing can be left in the examination, everything has to be studied, but the technology aspect of it cannot be ignored. You have to have a knowledge. You cannot say that I don't understand, therefore I have left it in choice. It will be tested on a serious note. Therefore, you please learn these aspects thoroughly, very well, and prepare for the examination. So the first area what we will be looking into is about the supply chain. What is the concept of supply chain? When we talk about supply chain, is a sequence of activities. It's a chain sequence of activities which connect from the supplier. The sequence of activities are connected until the time the goods are delivered to the customer. First, material is purchased from the um, supplier. See, for the material to purchase from the supplier, beforehand there should be some production planning. What is this production planning all about? See, the production planning is when would they be taking up the production work, on what date, by what date, by when should they be receiving the material? What is this concept of? See, because material that is purchased is procurement is a time-consuming process. Because, of course, off late it is the time has reduced, but otherwise, generally speaking, procuring the material is a time taking process. Suppliers have to be called in to submit their tenders or quotations. Once they present their quotations, then the suppliers are selected. The suppliers are selected, orders are placed, then supplier supplies the material. The material is checked for its quality, then it is accepted, sent into the factory premises so that the next course of action can be taken up. It is a time taking process. So how much time does it require? When should they place an order? All that requires some amount of planning, the production planning. By when would they be starting the production? What is the production duration, etc. All that will be looked into under the production planning. According to the requirement of the production, how many units will be produced? See, production planning again has to consider about um, see how do they decide on the production? They decide the production based on the anticipated sales in the future. So if they have to sell some X number of units, how many units have to be produced has to be planned. The reason is that exactly the same number of units that would be sold will not be produced. More than that only will be produced. See, if they are going to sell X number of units, little more than the number of units that would be sold will be produced, because in case of increased demand they should be able to be available with additional units. So how many units would be produced depending on the anticipated demand? Production planning will be taken up. Then the purchasing activity will be dependent on what is the procurement process, how much time does it require for them to uh, procure the material or purchase the material. So the activity of purchasing will take place. Then they decide on materials management, about what is the uh, consumption of material for each. See, when there are multiple components that are used, the multiple raw materials that are used, how do they maintain the stock levels of these things? Everything about materials, how materials would be managed, how they would be issued to the production, etc. Once the goods are produced, the production takes place. After that, the goods have to be um, sold to the customer. First, communication has to be sent to the customers about the availability of goods. So the goods have to be marketed, distributed, and then sold to the customers. Once the goods are sold to the customers, the goods have to be actually delivered to the customers. After the delivery, after the goods are purchased by the customers or they're sold to the customers, um, the goods are delivered to the customers. It doesn't end there. Even after that also, there are some services provided to the customers based on the terms and conditions of the sales. Like if there is a warranty guarantee provided, as per the contract, it would be mentioned about the period of time during which they would be providing certain services without charging anything from the customer. So there are after sale customer services also that are provided. So these are all sequence of activities starting from the supplier, approaching the supplier, placing an order with the supplier, delivery of the goods by the supplier, then receive them, then production work starts. The production work, the finished goods that are produced are moved into the warehouses or the showrooms for them to sell the products. Then sales happen. After the sales happen, the customers are also provided with after sales services. All of them are connected to one to each other. One is connected to the other. Okay, now based on what activity happens for the next period, they would take up the forecasting. So starts with forecasting actually. The forecasting about what is the course of action, what are the number of units that would be sold, then for the number of units that have to be sold, how many units would be produced, to produce that, how many units will be purchased, how the production work will be carried on. Then after that, the goods that are to be delivered to the customers on sale, the distribution, marketing, distribution. Then after the sale, what is the after sale customer services? So this will be referred to as supply chain. Okay, the sequence of activities connecting from the supplier till the customer is supply chain management. See, there is a concept of pull system and push system. We'll do one thing: pull system, push system. We will gather back after taking a small break. Everything will be about the. Otherwise, I think pull and push I'll explain. We'll go for a break, then talk about the e-procurement. See, the conventional method of inventory management is a push system. What does it mean? What's the conventional method? See, the conventional method of inventory management starts with see, first the supplier is reached out. The business reaches out to the supplier. So there is an order placed with the supplier. Supplier delivers the material. The business receives the material. This material is sent to the stores. From stores, it is sent to the production department. Goods are produced. In this particular situation, this is the conventional method of purchasing material and production being taken up. There is no assurance from the customer's end that they will purchase these products, but anticipating the demand that can arise in the future, looking into the future, anticipating what would happen in the future, so the activity would be taken up. Okay, there is no assurance at this point of time that the customers will approach them to purchase their product. Okay, production work takes place. These units that are produced are moved into the showrooms or outlets or wherever they are placed so that the customers can approach and purchase the product. Then let's say if it is an outlet or showroom, customers come buy the products that are already produced and are kept available. So then the goods are delivered to the customers. So from 1 second, let me take. So from one stage to another stage, the material is moved. Okay. First, the suppliers are approached. The supplier supplies the material on placing an order. Then material is moved into the stores department. From that production department, production happens. Then the finished goods are sent to the showrooms or outlets, and there they are placed. The customer comes, purchases the goods. The available units that are available are purchased by the customers. So that is the conventional, the traditional system of inventory management. Here there are certain additional costs that are incurred. So it is identified that um, see, when the material is purchased, at that point of time there is no assurance that the goods would be sold, the finished goods would be sold, um, accepted by the customers, but still they invest into the cycle. So the cycle starts by when they put in their cash into the inventory. Raw material is purchased. Let me put it as raw material. See, the raw material is purchased, raw material gets converted into finished goods. So finished goods are then have to be sold. Then if the sales happen on a credit basis, then it would be converted into accounts receivable. See that concept, and ultimately it would be converted into cash. So first, initially the amount of investment that is made into the raw material, then from raw material to finished goods to sales, sales are on credit basis. See, that is the operating cycle into which the funds invested are blocked till they receive back their cash amount from the customers, during which during which time their funds are all blocked. These funds are raised at a cost of capital. At a cost they are raised. So during this operating cycle, cost of capital is paid. Okay, that is one aspect. Second, raw material that is purchased, from the time raw material is purchased, they will have to store the raw material either in the form of raw material or in the form of finished goods. These all have to be stored. So there are storage costs that are to be incurred. So one is cost of capital that is paid on the funds that are invested into inventory, into the operating cycle. That is one cost. Second cost is the storage cost. So now it is the modern techniques, or the pull system of inventory management talks about not spending costs on cost of capital and storage costs, but the modern method of inventory management talks about do not take up any activity, do not purchase any material, do not produce anything beforehand, but wait until the time when the customer approaches the business with an order. So first thing is, the customer first approaches the business and places an order. There is an order that is placed by the customer with the business. So the business first receives an order from the customer. Okay, the order now has to be delivered by the business to the customer, but as such they do not have anything with them. No material was purchased, no production was taken up, but now they have received an order. If the business receives an order from the customers, now the business has to um, take up the production activity. So the production work will start. For the production work to be carried out, the material has to be purchased. Okay, purchase of material is there, because production cannot happen without material. So the production department now will approach the purchase department, and purchase department approaches the supplier. Now supplier is the last one in this sequence, but in case of the traditional technique, supplier is the first step. Okay, so the production work to be taken up, material has to be purchased, and the material is purchased from suppliers. So how does this model work out? See, on receiving the order from the customer, immediately the production work is taken up. Production requires the purchase of material. Material is purchased instantly because they would enter into agreement with reliable suppliers. So the suppliers, whenever orders are placed by the business or by the purchase department, immediately they supply this material, and they happen to be reliable suppliers who supply the quality material at the pre-decided price, etc. So there would be no issue in terms of procuring the material. Instantly, the production work will be taken up. How does it happen? See, how does it happen is the workers who are working in the production department happen to be as multi-skilled workers who can take up any type of work and then complete the work quickly, and the production completes quickly, and the goods are delivered to the customers because the order is already received by the customers. So on delivering the products with the to the customers, payment is settled. So they can also settle their final payment with the supplier. In this case, there is no investment of funds into the inventory management. Funds are not blocked anywhere. They don't have to pay cost of capital, or if some amount of cost of capital is paid also, it is very, very minimum because things are all settled immediately. They don't have to store anything. Storage costs would not be incurred because they are not purchasing anything beforehand and storing that. See, the traditional method is called as a push system. Okay, material is received from the supplier, it is pushed to the production happens, and it is pushed to the showrooms or outlets, and then finally delivered to the customers. The modern method talks about the customer places an order first. To satisfy the customer, the finished goods are pulled from the production department, but as such there is nothing there in production, so they pull it from the purchase department. The purchase department will acquire it from the supplier who is a reliable supplier. So a push system and a pull system in the traditional environment. The push system, um, it's a supplier led. A pull system is a customer or a market led. Okay. This is what e-commerce facilitates, and this was very rare prior to the development of e-commerce. On that context, we will be looking into about what is e-procurement. But e-procurement, we will see that after the break. We'll go for a break. It is 10:35 in my system. So we'll take a break for 5 minutes, come back, and then continue with the other topics. The e-procurement, then we have concepts called as downstream supply chain management. In fact, actual downstream, upstream have to be looked into, whatever is there. And then we will be looking into elements of technology and then study about that in after the break. Okay. Go for a break and join back. Now the next concept, after the push and pull system, we understand about what is e-procurement. See, e-procurement is often seen as a vital element of a pull system. So procuring that on through the electronic platform. See, the conventional system um, found that acquiring material from the supplier was a time-taking procedure because reaching out to the supplier, then selecting, asking them to submit their quotations, etc., selecting them, placing an order. But of late, we do not see that with this e-procurement facility, the suppliers are all present on the electronic platform. Um, they would provide their details, and then instantly the supplier can be selected because on a comparative note, all the suppliers are present there, providing the details about the products, the quality, quantity, price, etc. All those things are mentioned. In what quantity they would be available to supply the material, how many days would be required, etc. So it is not so time consuming like in the traditional method. Material can be purchased quicker than the traditional method. So e-procurement is often seen as a vital element of a full system. If the full system requires everything quickly, then e-procurement helps in that. What are the benefits of it? See, benefits of it is labor cost savings would be seen. That is, people need not be involved in approaching them, placing an order, communicating with them, because all that is available there on the internet. So we see that the platform is providing all the details. So somebody exclusively devoting their time is not required. Then labor cost savings are there. We see that better inventory control is possible. They don't have to save lot of raw material purchase beforehand, because things are all available conveniently. When they require, they can place an order. Beforehand purchasing them and storing them in the stores department is all what is not needed. Okay. Better inventory control, more influence over suppliers, because there are many sellers present there. If the customer has to, the business as a customer has to purchase the material from the suppliers, it is just not one supplier, or the dependence on only a few of them is not there, but rather availability of many suppliers are there. So there is more influence over the suppliers. um, then reduction in errors, errors in terms of accounting for the inventory in the books of accounts, managing that, etc. That then verifying about stock taking, looking into how much is unused or closing material as on a particular date, etc. All that will not be now required, because very quickly, instantly, material can be purchased through e-procurement. Problems also would be there, risk and problems also would be there. See, it is dependence on technology. See, over reliance on technology, any kind of a breakdown in terms of technology will affect their business also. There would be no stock available for them to carry on with the activities, even in case of technological breakdown also. So dependence, too much of dependence on technology will have certain problems in terms of how the work is carried on. um, okay. Staff resistance, in situations wherever there is changes taking place, we always see that there is resistance from the existing employees. See, that is on account of many aspects. It is on account of they losing their job, the fear of losing their job, fear of not being able to perform well, fear of not able to understand how to do the work. Okay, some kind of a resistance, that they would be undervalued, they will be looked down if they do not do well with that. So some amount of resistance would be there whenever a new system is adopted. Then there could be cost savings may fail to materialize. See, whatever is the saving which they are claiming that by e-procurement, that very quickly they can purchase, no need to purchase too much of material. They can be saving of costs. So these cost savings may fail to materialize. Maybe they cannot. It's not possible to realize all what theoretically is stated. Okay, that is one problem. um, the next one is prices and products range may become out of date. See, if the material is purchased in bulk, then they could acquire it at a lesser price. The previous price would be applicable for all the products. But as the time passes by, the prices also vary. Then later purchases, when which are made, will have to be purchased at a higher cost. So prices and product range may become out of date. Therefore, they may have to spend higher prices to acquire the material. So that's another problem with e-procurement. Impact of successful downstream supply chain management. What's the concept of downstream? See, when the whole supply chain activities are divided into three categories. See, anything which is taken up as production activity is the main operation. Conversion of raw material into finished goods is the main activity, main operation, which is production. Before production, any activity that is taken up is called as upstream, that is supply chain. In the supply chain, procurement of material. Anything before production is upstream. Anything after production is downstream. So we need to remember that way. Production is the main operation. Activities taken up before production are called as upstream. Activities taken up after the production are called as downstream. Now, impact of successful downstream supply chain management. In supply chain, procurement is part of upstream. After the procurement, production happens. After the production, the downstream happens. Okay. Customers become more reluctant to switch. If the supply chain activities happen on the electronic platform, customers become more reluctant to switch. Intermediation is having an intermediary in between to connect the supplier and the buyer, the customer and the supplier are connected through a middleman or an intermediary. If the trade happens on the electronic platform, there is no requirement of an intermediary, so intermediation is removed, eliminated. That becomes disintermediation. Continuously updates can be provided, continual updates. It's cheaper communication because all the details are all available on the electronic platform. Customers need not be personally reached out to provide the information about what products and the features are available on their products. So continuously any updation about the stock availability, about the features, etc., all that can be provided to the customer quickly, easily, cheaper form of communication. Then consumer user groups can be formed who will be communicated or provided with details about the products and services. Consumer user groups can be formed on the web. Better information on consumers. Customers can start to customize products. So then they can also place a customized request with the seller. Many apps of late, the e-commerce apps, applications that are available do entertain that, do take up the customized orders. So according to whatever is the requirements, that is possible when the technology is used in case of downstream supply chain management. How, what way can it be have an impact on the business is about impact of successful downstream supply chain management. Now we'll start with the concepts of technology. We would be first learning about what is big data and the other disruptive technology. Okay, cloud technology, AI, artificial intelligence, the IoT, Internet of Things, mobile technologies, then the ethics of technology usage. Please follow them carefully, and then we will look into these things. This is very, very, very important because the reason why professional organizations, professional bodies brought about technology into the curriculum is that the future of the organization's activities are all dependent on the technological updates. So you will also be joining organizations where technology is adopted at large scale. So you should be aware of. So your position is someone of an expert, a management accountant expert, or some kind of a specialized role. Uh, See, you have to have that thorough knowledge about multiple aspects of the organization, because you are the one who would be providing information, you are the one who would be providing details, explanation, um, uh, understanding about different aspects of it. So it's very easy that someone would approach you for better understanding. So you are in a position where uh, you would be in a position in the examination where every aspect of it is addressed to you, so you have to have an answer for that. See, that someone who has a knowledge about multiple aspects is what is uh, expected or required of you. You also have to learn that. You also have to learn that, um, because you have to advise someone in the organization, explain something to the people in the organization, etc. So the first aspect what we learn about is the concept of big data. Carefully follow this one. What's the concept of big data? What is big data? Anyone? Anyone in the class? I don't know whether I will get an answer. Um, Not that you do not know the answer, but I don't get a response. On that note, I'm asking. But anyone knows anything? One small line, half a line also. What is big data? Any idea about what is the meaning of big data? Don't know is also an answer. I At least they don't know, no? Then I will not wait. That's good. Okay. The concept of big data, because PM it was done, no? That's why I asked you. We have, I mean, the topic of big data is included in PM. Therefore, I asked. So it's okay, no problem if you don't know. See, the base for decision making, how decisions can be taken based on the information that is provided. Now, what is information? From where would they get information? Um, Information is basically processed data. So data has to be acquired. Conventionally, the data was acquired from internal sources, external sources. Internal sources, the registers, records that were maintained. From that, the data was taken and it was provided. That is processed, analyzed, and provided as analysis to the management. Management would take decisions. So one source is internal, another source is external data. External data, that data that is published by government sources, private sources, some published data is external sources of data. See, conventionally it was only these two sources of data that were available, and these data was processed, made into information. Information was analyzed, and the analysis was provided to the management so that management would take decisions based on that. Now we have a third source. The third source of data is the transmitted source. That is, when the data is transmitted from one smart device to another smart device, the data is now possible to be captured by the seller. The seller is now able to capture the data when it is being transmitted on the internet through the smart device. From the smart devices, when the messages are sent to another smart device, as they are being transmitted also the data is able to be captured. Okay. A best way to understand how do they what actually happens, see, there are digital marketing tools that are available, that with those tools it becomes possible to capture what the customer is looking for. You must have experienced this. See, when you search for something on the internet, in the next few days you will see advertisements on various sites popping up related to the search item which you were searching on the internet. See, how do they understand that you are looking for that piece of information which you were searching on the search engine was captured by the seller. So the sellers are now trying to contact the customers through these advertisements and providing the information about what are the features of the products, the price, etc. The other aspects of it also are communicated. That was able to know the expectation of the customer and addressing the requirement of the customer. Okay. Likewise, see now the data when it is transmitted, if it is captured, the volume of data, the quantity of data, the amount of data that is captured automatically becomes very big, huge in size, because we know that there are many multiple devices that are connected to the internet. There are many smart devices, and these devices are now of late, it's very easy to be connected to the internet. Many people now own a smart device, and as the data is being transmitted, it is all captured by the sellers. Sellers do understand what is the requirement, and then cater to the requirement of the customers. So many devices, the the volume of data is also huge, as huge that, so as huge that it cannot be stored on the storage devices of the organization. If it cannot be stored on the storage device, then the data becomes big in size, big data. So if it cannot be stored on a laptop, that data becomes big data for the laptop. If it cannot be stored on the mobile phone, for the mobile phone, for the device, it is big in size. Okay, it cannot be stored on the storage capacity. It's not sufficient to store the data. So the data becomes big in size, big data. So it crosses the capacity which can be stored. So it is called as big data. So the point is, why are they capturing the data? The capturing of the data is to understand the customers and cater to the requirements of the customers. But just mere capturing is not sufficient. This data also has to be analyzed. Only on analysis, some interpretation would be drawn, and based on that, the requirements of the customers can be understood and accordingly can be catered to that. So we there are big data softwares now available which are able to process that large volume of data. That big data also is now possible to be processed very easily. There are attributes of big data. Here in the slide there are only 3 given. Technically, actually you should remember 4, because the material talks about 4 characteristics of big data, but the very recent one talks about as there are 5 V's of big data. The first V, the characteristics are given in the form of V's: volume, velocity, variety, and for actually there is a fourth V called as veracity. The first attribute or the first characteristics of big data, characteristic of big data is the volume. is large in size. The data is big, as big that it cannot be stored on the storage device of the organization. Size is big, therefore it is big. Volume is large. That's the first attribute. Then this data that is big in size, the standard computers earlier to big data analysis, the standard computers were not able to process the data. Standard computers failed to process such large volume of data. But now, with the help of big data softwares that are available, it has become too easy to process the large volume of data at great speed. Very easily, very quickly, the data is processed. So we can quote an example in connection to this. The the process, the processing, the velocity or the speed at which the data is processed. So I'll give you an example in this connection. Just let's see. Naveen has started running into and out of the classroom. See, in the stock market, when the trading happens, the data keeps changing by the fraction of seconds. As the trading activities are carried on in the stock market, then there is an impact on the stock prices, etc. So every fraction of second, the values change, the variables change. There is an impact on the price. Um, but when we see that the stock market simultaneously keeps also providing the analysis. Okay, so the velocity, the speed with which the data is processed is so fast, very quickly. Now, how does it happen? See, the processing is not taken up with the static data, the data that is updated until a particular point of time, take into account and process that. That is not the case. But here it also updates the data. When the processing happens, it updates the data. After updating the data, the analysis also is taken up very quickly. The speed is quite high. The speed with which the data is processed, that's the second V. Second V is about the velocity, the speed with which the data is processed. Then the third V is about variety. Data is the data that is captured is in various forms. Variety of data is captured, which is analyzed. Okay. Anyway, the quantitative data anyway is analyzed. So the data that is in the form of facts and figures, the numbers, the quantitative terms, it's easy to analyze. But then the data comes in variety of forms. See, unstructured and unstructured. What are examples of unstructured data? Something like an audio message, a video message, a picture, an image, a social media text. These are also different forms of data, unstructured data. So such kind of data is also processed, variety of data. First attribute is the volume of data is very big, large in size. Okay, volume is big. Then we see the speed with which that large volume of data is processed is also at very high speed. The data comes in a variety of forms. The structured data, which is already arranged in rows and columns. The unstructured data, which is not only in the quantitative form, it is also in the qualitative form. We see that unstructured data are examples are um, an audio message, a video message, a social media text, a posting on the social media, anything, a personal interview. Anything could be an image, a picture, that also could be data. See, the big data then will be able to analyze these types of data also. An audio message can be analyzed, a video message can be analyzed. So on understanding that those forms of data, on analyzing those forms of data, some kind of a trend is picked out of that data, and then later on that is used to process the data further. So variety of forms in which the data comes. Fourth one is again another important one, talks about veracity. Veracity is the genuinity of the data, or the data which is processed should be validated for its genuinity or its truthfulness. That is the veracity. Veracity concept is the data that is captured should be genuine. We know that the uh, data that is available on the internet of late, we see that a major part of it is around about 50% of the data is all fake data, which is not genuine data. So before the processing is to be taken up, it has to be validated for its genuinity. Veracity talks about validating the genuinity of the data. Okay. Then in fact, actually, the latest V, fifth V is about value, whether value to the customers is added or not. So that talks about the fifth V. You remember four, that is sufficient. So the characteristics of big data are, big data is called as big data because it is big in size. Why did it become big in sizes? Because there are sources when the data is being transmitted from one smart device to another device. When it is captured, then we see that the data has become big in size, as big that it cannot be as big that it cannot be stored on the storage devices of the organization. Okay, so such kind of data also can be processed with the help of big data softwares. Hadoop is one example with which the data can be processed. So the data is big in size, the volume is big. Second, the speed with which the data is processed is very high. It is not about processing only the static data, but also it considers updation of the data. As the data key gets updated, that updation is also considered, and the processing takes place, and which is done at great speed, high speed, with high at great speed, at high speed, the data is all processed. The data is that is captured is in variety of forms. So it is in the audio form, video form, image form, social media, text form, any kind of data. So variety of data, all those types of data also is can be processed with the help of big data. Then before the data is processed, it has to be tested for its genuinity, the veracity. It has to be tested uh, for the genuinity, the truthfulness of the data, validate that, and then process the data. See, if it is fake data, if it is false input, then the output also will be accordingly. So it cannot be trusted upon, or it cannot be relied upon. Therefore, it is important that the truthfulness of the data should be tested first. That is about the veracity. Then we have disruptive technology. There are examples. Because of technology, there is some disruption created, caused. So disruption is if there is a normal course of business, the activities are carried on in a normal manner. If there is some change brought about, then that is disruption. Okay, the consequences could be favorable consequences only, but there is some unrest, there is some disturbance because of changes that have happened. So that is disruption. So technology has created or caused that disruption in the organization. As a result of that, there are certain benefits that can be derived, but we see that technology has caused the disruption in the organization. So we call that as disruptive technology. So disruption or examples of disruptive technologies, fintech. Fintech is because of technology, there are changes or disruption caused in financial sector, banking sector. So any kind of a disruption that happened in the financial areas, we call that as disruption in fintech. Okay. You must have attended some seminar, webinar on fintech, and then you have some knowledge about fintech. See, the technology that is creating some issue, some problem, some disturbance, some changes in the finance sector will be now looked at as am I audible? It's showing something else in the screen. Am I audible? Okay, 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 okay. Suddenly something was showing. So the disruption caused in financial sector, in banking sector, see, things are not taken up in the conventional manner. See, banking services now are at the click of a button. We see that there are so many changes that have happened. See, there were days when people had to wait at the in those long queues at the bank for the transactions to complete. Now, people can take up any kind of a transaction at the click of a button through their mobile phone. Also, they can take it up. See, there are digital payments taken up. There are ways wherein through the internet, with the help of technology, transactions are very easy to be taken up in the financial sector. Trading is now online. Any kind of financial transaction can be taken up online. The banking services are also provided online. To the extent that you don't even have to visit a bank to open your bank account. To that extent, the convenience is there. See, all can be done, all those transactions can be done with the help of technology. So the disruption that has caused in the financial sector and the banking sector is referred to as fintech. Cryptocurrency, see, there is a digital currency. Cryptocurrency is basically a digital currency which is available for those that are dealing with this currency. See, it is useful to take up transactions online. So the advantage with that is the regular cash reserves and funds that are available need not be used to take up the transactions digitally, but they can utilize these cryptocurrencies that are available with them. So it is something like parallelly along with their cash reserves that they can also have another currency, which is cryptocurrency. So more number of transactions can be taken up because they are now provided with additional parallel currency along with that. That's cryptocurrency. Blockchain technology. What is blockchain? See, blockchain is basically a digital ledger which can connect the users across the world. Okay, a digital ledger on the data can be shared with others on the digital ledger. So, how does it actually work? See, block has multiple phases. If we look into that, so how does it look like? See, block has multiple phases. So let's say that there is first user who gets connected to this digital ledger. So digital ledger, the user, if he shares the data, so data would be shared here on one phase of the block. As soon as the data is shared, this data gets protected when a security code is generated. There is a code that is generated which protects this data from getting disturbed, damaged, or any kind of thing. So no issue would be there. There is complete protection. The data would be protected. No one will be able to modify, delete, add anything to this one. This data shared by the user will be as it is, but because it is on a digital ledger, it is also accessible by others can use that data, can see that, but no one will be able to modify that data, including the user himself. Okay, then let's say to this digital ledger there is a second user also gets connected. Now when a second user gets connected to this digital ledger, the second user also will be able to share the data. Then this data will be stored on one phase of it. So the second user's data gets stored here. Um, as soon as the second user stores the data, to protect his share of data, there is a code generated which protects this data. But now the second user gets connected to the first user's data. So the second user will not be able to make any changes to the first user's data because it is protected by the previous code that is generated to protect the previous data. So now likewise, multiple users can get connected to this digital ledger. It is a centralized data repository. Data can be added by anyone from anywhere in the world. Globally, anybody can get connected to this digital ledger. So it can be referred to as a centralized data repository. Okay, data can be shared on the digital ledger. So based on that, some digital transactions are also can be taken up. Okay, coming to the protection, if we talk about it as a secured way of sharing the data, what about see anyway, because it is protected with the code, no one will be able to alter that, including the user himself also cannot alter that. Then the protection is there in terms of not getting disrupted, not getting damaged, deleted, modified, anything. That is all not possible. That part of it, the security part of it, is taken care of. What if it gets deleted? That's another issue. See, as the data is being stored on the or shared on the digital ledger, simultaneously in thousands of locations and thousands of servers across the world, this digital ledger gets saved. So the chance of the data being deleted also is ruled out. So protection is at its highest form. The digital ledger gets saved in multiple locations simultaneously, so that safety is there. So transactions can be taken up on the internet. Anybody can get connected through the digital ledger with any other person in the across the world. So that is the kind of disruption that has happened because of technology. So these are few examples how changes were brought about into the financial sector, into the banking sector, fintech, the parallel currency along with the regular currency. There is some digital currency called as cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency will be able to will help the business to take up other transactions digitally. Utilize this cryptocurrency, not utilizing, not affecting their present cash balances. So additional activities or transactions can be taken up with the help of cryptocurrencies. And then blockchain is a digital ledger, centralized data repository. It is a digital ledger or it's a centralized data repository which will help multiple users to get connected to that in terms of sharing the data with others. Data protection is in its highest form. So that is about digital technology, disruptive technology, and the examples of disruptive technology. You should be reading about articles on this disruptive technology. See, because this is what is the future. So when you join the organization, you also will be working in this environment where technology has taken over to a great extent. So if you are not aware of those changes, if you cannot work in that environment, then it becomes difficult for you to survive in the organization. So now it is important. See, people, all those who are aspiring to join the organizations have to have one idea, one piece of information with you that, see, technology has already started taking over many roles, is going to drastically take over many roles in the coming few years. See, it is anticipated. There is a report, McKinsey has come out with a report stating that round about 60 to 70% of the roles at the entry level now will be taken over by technology. So because of automation, because of the disruption. See, things are not done manually. Things, most of the work at the entry level, which is the nature of the work at the entry level, is all regular repetitive. So um, that regular repetitive work can be done much better with the help of technology, because once this set of instructions are given, and that will be taken over, that will be taken up um, by automation in much effective manner. Just now, few minutes back, in the first half, we've discussed about automation. So the speed with which they do the work, the machines do the work, is quite high. Output generated is very high. So there are advantages of using technology, automation, etc. See, there were days when the financial statements were prepared manually. It would take um, days together for them to just balance their financial statements. See, it was not instantly generated. Now nobody is doing manually. Many organizations have these accounting softwares. A transaction just has to be entered into the system, and everything. Now, what is the treatment of each transaction will appear in the appropriate place. The software will take care of that. See, nobody, I mean, the efforts are not now needed to spend a lot of time just to ensure that the transactions are posted appropriately, properly in its place, and then balancing of that. Need not spend many days or long time looking into that. Now everything is done on these systems. The systems take care of that. Likewise, many roles are now no longer needed to be taken up by human beings. The human effort is not needed, because machines are able to do, systems are able to do in much better manner. So if the entry level is like that, so the next level is the middle level, at which we see that the decision making starts from that level. If you have to find a place for yourself in the organization, don't think about entry level. Now, at least for from your generation onwards, it will not be available to enter into the organization at the entry level. So you need to have some qualifications, some skills have to be acquired by you, so that you are capable enough to take decisions. So at the decision making level, see, the disruption is not so high. um, Still the decisions are taken by human beings to a great extent. We will be discussing about artificial intelligence in the coming few minutes. We will be talking about that. See, artificial intelligence is now able to help the human beings in terms of decision making, but it is not to that extent that the roles are taken over by technology. So that is what is the idea. You should have very clear with you that, don't think that with basic qualifications you will enter into the organization, you will work hard later on and then grow. Entry itself has become very difficult. So please take up your professional programs very seriously, study well, acquire the skills of decision making, enter into the corporates, and with those skills at the decision making level. Okay. What are the potential benefits of disruptive technology? Potential benefits of disruptive technology: better use of data, a frictionless customer experience. So because able to understand the customer's expectations very easily, so frictionless customer experience, more personalization of products and services. The customization can be taken up because they are now all connected very easily through customer relationship management. Customers are connected to the suppliers through the technology. See, the data of the customer is all stored. See, the buying pattern of the customers are all available to the supplier easily. The supplier will be able to understand the buying pattern, the requirements, the changes, what are his expectations. Everything is very easy by the supplier to understand. So understand about the customers expectations. So accordingly, the services, products and services can be provided to the customers. More personalization of products and services, that is possible. The lack of a physical presence. See, now no one needs to be present physically. It all can be done remotely also. Remotely also, to have an access, it is possible. The lack of physical presence, need not be physically present there to take up a transaction. Access to cheap capital to fund growth. Okay, so that see, availability, because everything is now being transparent. Okay, how the transactions are being taken up through technology, etc. So attracting capital also has become easy. So access to cheap capital to fund growth also has become possible because of disruptive technology. Okay, just give me one minute. 1 minute, I'll be connected. Just a minute. The next topic is cloud technology. So what's cloud technology? So we have started with this note about big data. Data that is captured has become big in size, as big that it cannot be stored on the storage devices of the organization. Then where would they be stored? Because this data is crucial, important for decision making. The seller would be able to take better decisions if more amount of data is available. So, but then the size has become big, so as big that it cannot be stored. So then what is the alternative? When it cannot be stored, um, where would it be stored? So there are external service providers to help, or to provide that space where the data can be stored. For us also, we also store data. Now these external service providers provide the space to store the data on the internet. See, these service providers are available, um, available on the internet to where they provide the space, as much space which is utilized, they can pay amount to that. But otherwise, if these storage devices have to be purchased, the number of storage devices that would be purchased, um, as many to that extent, the capital amount, the investment amount will increase. But here, when they use the facility of storing the data on the cloud, as much space they use to that extent only they will have to pay the charges. The amount would be paid only for the services or the space that they utilize. So it is more economical for the organizations. We also use the cloud technology. We have all these Google Drives, etc. See, the many at a personal level also we have so many drives wherein we are now able to save the data on the cloud. Okay, with the not utilizing the space that is available on our personal devices like mobile phone, laptop, computer, etc. Instead of using the space on this on these devices, this data can now be very comfortably stored on the cloud. Okay, also there are advantages. We can always have an easy access to the data that is stored on the cloud. So that is the cloud technology, cloud computing, what we call it as, where the data which is now the concept of it is because the big data has become big in size. Big data which has to be stored cannot be stored all of them on the storage devices. So therefore they are now stored on the cloud, um, which is wherein the space is provided by external service providers. The data is stored on the cloud, and as much space as is used by the business, will the service charges also will be paid accordingly for the space that is used. Okay, so then therefore it becomes cost effective for them. What are the potential benefits of cloud technology? Okay, first thing is sharing data. See, the best possible example what we can give about the cloud technology is during this lockdown, almost all software companies have run in the regular normal manner. Even if the employees did not visit the physical location of their offices, also still the work did not stop. They have continued that way. How did it become possible without being present at the physical location? See, the data of these companies all was stored on the cloud. So cloud, when the data was stored, the access was given to um, multiple users. See, all the employees had an access to the cloud. So collaboration was possible. Multiple users were able to get connected to the cloud. They were able to process the data and update the data on the cloud. So that's how, even when for uh, some of them are still not open, asking the employees to come to the office, the work is still being carried on from home only. So more than 2 years if they are working from home, it means to say that the advantage of using cloud technology has brought about those kind of advantages. See, the data sharing has become very easy. Anything which is stored on on the cloud can easily be retrieved. Okay, it becomes very easy to retrieve the data, process the data. Multiple collaborators can get connected to the data, to the cloud. Okay, they can be processing simultaneously also. That facility is also there. Then it has become more competitive in the sense there is cost advantages that can be realized. Mm, need not spend a huge investment in acquiring storage devices, but rather um, it can be I mean that facility can be used at cost effective rates. Okay, more competitive, easier scaling. Anything which they want to increase the space also can be increased. As much as they want to increase, they can increase. Reduced maintenance, they do need not look into that. See, the maintenance part of it to store in the storage devices, taking care of that, all that is not required. Now the data that is stored on the cloud is safe, and the protection is also safe, the security is safe, confidentiality part of it also is taken care of it. Okay, reduced maintenance, Backups and disaster recovery, like sometime back, a few minutes back, we have discussed that. See, in case of the IT, there is a need for taking the backup and storing it in a remote location. Now that requirement is not there. See, in any case, if there is anything which happens also, no need to store the data in a remote location as a backup plan. So that is not needed. See, even when um, employees are restricted from entering into the physical locations of their office also, now they do not require a backup because all that data is very securely stored on the cloud. Fine. Therefore, backups and disaster recovery, that is dealt very effectively with the help of cloud computing. Better security, okay, because the service providers do provide better security for the data from being damaged, or any kind of damage caused, or that is taken care of. Of course, theoretically, when we study, we talk about it, but there also always should be an apprehension about, because the service provider is an external person, so the confidentiality is a big issue, the security is a big issue, because anything to do with, because it is not someone internal that they will take care of the data, it is always a external service provider. Therefore, we see that the security part of it is always a big question. When we talk about the limitations or the issues related, or the risks that are present with cloud technology, we need to talk about in that aspect also, because someone from and someone not from the internal environment is taking care of the protection of the security of the data, so which should be looked at as an issue. Any kind of a damage, the confidentiality issue also can arise. Any kind of a damage can happen because of using the cloud computing services and storing the data on the cloud. So that way, we need to be probing into that situation. That skepticism should always be there, whether it is actually secure or not, whether data is properly protected or not. Protected in the sense that no way the data that is stored will get damaged, some kind of destruction would happen. See, that is data protection. See, with data, hackers are there, intruders are there, some virus attacks can happen, multiple things are there. So proper firewall should be there, protection should be provided, etc. Whether the service provider is able to take up that all or not is one issue there. So you need to have that skepticism attitude and talk about what are the disadvantages of cloud technology. Okay, how much time is there? Okay, we will be able to take it up. Artificial intelligence. See, I think only artificial intelligence we will be able to take up in the remaining time. The rest of the syllabus can be taken up in the next class. I do not know when is the next class. Whenever it is, see, otherwise I understand. I did not get an official information, but otherwise I understand that it is tomorrow afternoon. If it is there tomorrow afternoon, we'll meet tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, we'll meet whenever is the next class. Done. The next concept is artificial intelligence. See, when we were talking about automation was assigning the regular repetitive work to machines, because machines can do regular work very effectively at great speed, because machines can only understand the set of instructions, but they cannot think by themselves to carry on with the work. Decision making is not possible by machines. Machines just understand the algorithm that is fed into the machines. They understand the set of instructions, carry out the work based on the set of instructions. Okay, so for every kind of a software, there is a in algorithm. There are set of instructions that are fed into the system, and these software operates in that particular manner. See, if there is some machine which is assigned with the task, machine can only perform in that particular manner. It cannot think beyond that and take decisions and implement things. That is not possible by machines. Human beings still have that um, uh, that upper hand over machines in terms of they can take decisions, um, customized decisions depending on the situation, which is not possible for machines. Artificial intelligence is that area of computer science that emphasizes the creation of intelligent machines that work and react like human beings. See, it is an effort made to make the um, machines think and act like human beings. See, there's one Charlie Chaplin movie, Modern Times. I assuming that most of you must have watched. Anyone who has watched Modern Times Charlie Chaplin movie, wherein they devise, anyone who's watched, you will be able to connect to that situation very quickly. Anyone who's watched Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times movie, this is also no response. Okay. I don't know whether you watched because it's an old movie. I'm not sure whether you watched it or not, but it's generally there on the channels, television channels. Okay. If it is there in any other platform, also you please you can always look into that. Okay, so what's the point here is, see, there is a machine which they devise which can feed breakfast to the people. That machine can serve breakfast. They have multiple courses wherein one after the other has to be fed. At one point something misses, and the whole thing is, see, it is shown in a very hilarious manner, but that's the reality, because machine cannot understand, it cannot adjust, accommodate itself to the changes. So one point which misses there, the entire feeding of breakfast to the human beings or the people there becomes a disaster. It is looked at as a comedy or a hilarious act which is seen, but that's the reality of machines not able to the understand and react like human beings. If something is missed, we can very easily adjust to the changed environment, which is not possible with machines. But now, instead of only assigning tasks which are regular, repetitive to the machines, now there is an effort to make the machines also take decisions like human beings. They are created in such a way that they are now able to work and react like human beings. Okay, that is about artificial intelligence. There is a definition from Kaplan and Hindley describes AI as, it is the system's ability to correctly interpret external data, to learn from such data and to use those learnings to achieve specific goals and tasks through flexible adaptation. So machines are now able to learn from past experiences, learn from data, apply that learning to different situations that arise in future, and adjust itself according to the changed environment. This is all done by machines. So machines are designed in such a way that now they are able to learn from past experiences, from the past data, apply that knowledge, that learning to situations that arise in the future, and fulfill the goals. That is the concept of AI. An effort about how machines can act like human beings. That is AI, artificial intelligence. Under see, artificial intelligence and machine learning. See, we see machine learning is one thing, supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Okay. Maybe I'll do one aspect and then we can wind up the class. um, what is machine learning? See, machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence where effectively AI computer code is built. AI computer code is built to mimic how the human brain works. So, machine learning, now the algorithm or the code is built into the machine. Because of that, the machine will now be able to think like the human, how the human brain works, able to mimic or imitate the human brain. So the way the humans respond and react, now the machine also is now able to do that. So machine learning is the algorithm or the code is fed into the machine such that the machine is now able to interpret or understand how the human brain works and also learn from that. Okay, it essentially uses probability based on past experiences. So from the past experiences, the learning happens through data, events, and connections between events. So it is a learning from the past experiences. That's one point. The second point of is the computer then applies this learning to a given situation to give fact-driven, plausible outcome. So applies that knowledge, applies the knowledge that is learned from the past experiences, from this past experience, whatever learning was done by the machine, it tries to use that learning to implement it in the future. Okay, if the conclusion the computer reaches turns out to be incorrect, this will act to add more experience. If it doesn't prove out to be correct, if it is not applicable for a future situation, that will be counted as another experience which the computer receives. So will act to add more experience and enhance its understanding further, so in future the same mistake will not be repeated. So the machine is learning from the past experiences, and these experiences or these learnings are applied in future situations. It comes out with some suggestion for a problem that arises, and if it suits, it's fine. If the solution is not applicable in that situation, that also will be counted as an experience, and then use that and apply it in future. Okay, that is about machine learning. We still have, as part of ai as part of ai, we have to learn about what is the meaning of supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So day to day life experiences also we can talk about in terms of ai and then discuss it. I will do this part of it in the next class. I don't know when is the next class. Whenever is the next class, when we are meeting again, we will discuss about AI, the other elements of digitalization, IoT, mobile technology, other aspects of it. Some of the technologies which are not discussed in the syllabus also may appear in the examination as part of a case study. Because see, in one of the past question papers, there's some technology called as RF ID, radio frequency interactive devices. Um, so, but see, any new thing which is added, um, a brief introduction or brief explanation about that particular thing will also be included in the case study. It is not that randomly something completely new will be asked, but I mean to say here is, see, there is lot of emphasis there on um, in the examination, expectation from the candidate that the candidate understands technology very well, apply technology in decision making in the organization, come out with different possible plausible outcome solutions or something. So you learn that, basically you have to learn the technology part of it very very well. Okay, then your answers will be based on the knowledge which you have related to technology. Okay, um okay, then any doubts? Where will you say? Any doubts? Anybody has any doubts, anything? Okay. On that note, let's wind up the session. I'll meet you in the next class, whenever it is. Okay. Good day.